cheese grater. All right, would that not hurt?
Who are you on to?
I tell you, I saw this advertisement in this magazine, right? And it says, if you're a bad boy, call this number. So it did.
Yeah.
And this lady here, right? She says she'll come round here and spank me for £20.
Tell her to bog off. Sure, I'll smack the head off you for 15.
All right. Hello? Me brother says he'll do it for 15.
Look, will you settle down, you feckless rogue?
Yeah.
You better get your rest. We're off to Uncle Nee Scrollocks tomorrow.
Oh, Nee Scrollocks, right.
Yeah. You'll go blind, you dirty devil!
For what? Bite me nails!
Oh no! It's started!
What started?
There's no turning back now.
What are you talking about, Podge?
You'll end up like Cormac McAnus from Ring's End.
Who's he?
I'll tell you who's he. He was the only child of Phelim McAnus, a tram driver in Dublin. Oh, his parents doted on him. And they said they wanted him to grow up to be big and strong like his tram-driving dad.
Right.
So every evening, come 6 o'clock, Mammy would serve up dinner consisting of a big hunk of red meat.
Lovely.
Whether it was a steak or in a stew, it was always there, which was a bit peculiar, because in those days, well, you'd need more than a tram driver's wage to put meat on the table 7 nights a week.
So where were they getting the meat from?
Well, that's what Nosy Nelligan from number 5 wondered, before she disappeared. Well, Mrs. McAnus, any ideas as to the whereabouts of Mrs. Doris Nelligan from number 5, have we at all?
What does she say?
Oh, Sergeant, I think she might have mentioned something about going up to her sisters in Donegal.
Was she lying, Podge?
She knew exactly where Mrs. Nelligan was. She was hanging up by a meat hook in the basement.
Jesus, they were eating the neighbours! Feckin' cannibals! Were they ever caught?
They were. You see, that was a long, hot summer that year. And as you well know, bodies don't keep well in the heat. When the guard came back acting on complaints of a smell escaping from their basement, he was a little more thorough in his investigations. And this time he discovered the corpse of Mrs. Nelligan.
Good, right. Well, that's
The spleen of Mrs. Dowdall's in teriyaki sauce and a nipple kebab made up from the local trade union workers' choir.
Lock up the flesh eaters and throw away the key!
That's what they did. And as punishment, they were only allowed to eat raw turnips. But they perished without the meat to support their cannibalistic urges.
So what happened to young McAnus?
Oh, he was sent to the nuns and raised as a strict vegetarian. Being only 5 at the time, he remembered nothing of his parents' grisly past.
I hate a happy ending.
Oh, it doesn't end there. You see, once you get a taste for human flesh, it's very hard to get it out of your system. Young McAnus was grand until his 16th birthday. A time of change for all young men.
You mean like, being fecked out in the Boy Scouts?
Kinda. Her name was Dimphna. It was their first date. He was giving her one of them, love bites at the films in Fairview when he got the cravings. She ended up with 6 stitches in the neck. The authorities feared the cravings were a family trait and wanted to lock him up. But the nuns took him back, this time under lock and key, where he had no human contact. They thought they could cure him with a vegetable diet.
Right.
But the cravings were too strong.
Yeah.
So he started biting his fingernails.
Which is?
He'd soon chewed down to the wrist. As the weeks passed, he polished off his legs.
Bollocks!
Yeah, that too. And by August of 1970, he had eaten his spare ribs. And by Christmas that year, there was only his head left.
Jesus, I'll never eat me nails again! So how long did the head survive?
Nobody knows. You see, in the cell there was a hole in the ground for a toilet. And as he was only the size of the head, he rolled himself down it.
All right.
Through the sewers.
Right.
And out to God knows where. And rumour has it, he's still craving the flesh to this day.
I go on there and that.
Sure, I've seen it myself.
Where?
Right here in the bed.